I'll confess, I haven't seen this movie in quite a long time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't remember having a big anticipation of Blue Velvet. It actually just sort of appeared, in my view, and I was really, watching everything at that time. So I'd heard about it. I don't want to say, too much about the film, but the time it came out, I will say it was probably the most, I'll never forget it. When Blue Velvet opened, I was in Houston that weekend. So Friday, the first screening, let's say noon, I went to see it at the Galleria in Houston. That theater. At the Galleria Mall, right there in West Houston. And I was sitting with about 6 other people in a big empty theater, but going, okay, I can't believe I'm watching this here, It was the most subversive feeling I ever felt in a theater watching a commercial movie. And it will always be that way. To watch Blue Velvet was just a total mind-blowing experience. So I won't say too much about the film because it's kind of hard to describe, but it's the underbelly of that Reagan era. It's the beautiful little house. It's the underbelly of that. It's what's going on underneath the surface. So the films both has this kind of wonderful 50s innocence in a way, even though it's modern, it's kind of retro, but it's also very, underneath that veneer, there's this kind of violence and crime and terror. I mean, the film kind of unrolls like a nightmare, like a dreamscape, like a lot of Lynch's best films. It sort of has to be taken in. And you could argue, we'll talk about it after, where you think the film really resides. Is it in Jeffrey's mind? Is it, all that. So it's this kind of beautiful, dreamy landscape that only Lynch can do. Opposites colliding everywhere. Thought about it at the time, but yeah, people over the years have interpreted it a million ways. I never really thought, it never crossed my mind, but the Freudian, he's the kid, Frank and Dorothy are the parents, and you have that ear at the very beginning. He says he never saw in Shenandoah. I think Lynch, what you have to admire, just so much of his images just kind of come out. You can tell he doesn't filter it, he doesn't question it too much. He's not an intellectual. Lynch, if he were sitting here, the last thing he would want to talk about, or would be willing to talk about, of course, would be any deeper interpretation or even what he was thinking. I don't think he questions it. I think he has this open flow to these, images, and he puts it together in such a unique way. A lot of what Laura Dern says here about the Robins, that's kind of him. People kind of laugh at that, but it's beautiful. That's how it kind of feels about the Robins, and we're all, something. I forgot what it's just. It's so funny seeing this again after all these years. Just how voyeuristic, how kind of crazy Kyle MacLachlan's Jeffrey is. Just so, it's like a twisted 50s. There was this subgenre of like teen, almost like a Nancy Drew, sleuth, teen sleuth, but it's gone some super perverted road. What he finds. But again, that's Lynch's probably 50s upbringing. These kind of, what genre, But the film it's not obscure. I mean, it does make its own sense. Van Gogh, the guy missing the ear. It's not, like a lot of films just make no sense. It has its own perfect kind of symmetrical dream logic. I guess the biggest one being visually, I guess, the trip into the ear and then back out of his own ear. That's a fun one. The real movie is in between the two ears. You couldn't order a Heineken without someone saying, "Heineken, fuck that shit. That's Blue Ribbon." Yeah, it was kind of great. This film wasn't like a huge hit, but the cultural permeation was amazing. Like I remember, even 6 months later, seeing a show. It was like Sonic Youth, but also for Fire Hose, and Kim Gordon played the Blue Velvet thing. I was like, wow, it was just cool. It was just everywhere. It just kind of seeped in like the movie itself. And that's where I think it resides. Everyone's seen it in this film. It just kind of permeates world cinema in a really interesting way. Well, let's face it, this film would have never fit in anywhere, anytime. If it opened next week, it would be like, what the fuck? So it just happened to be chronologically where I found it and where it popped into this world. But This would have fit in it. It would have been great in the 90s or anywhere. What a perfectly designed movie. You know, they weren't on a big budget here. It shows what you can really do just with a lot of prep and thought. You know, just so many great touches. And he says in his book, if I'm remembering correctly, that when Dean Stockwell sings with that light, that was kind of one of those happy accidents. It was written to be a lamp, like he grabbed a lamp, but it was just a work light that was laying there. Patricia Norris swore that it was just they had been working on the set and it was still sitting there. And Dean Stockwell just picked it up and turned it on and went, hey, I like that more. And he's like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, just artist enough to know a better idea, or when something's presenting itself to you, I think he's very much open. You know, that's the best of all worlds. You know, but so many wonderful touches. You know, when he sees Frank watching Dorothy sing Blue Velvet, and the way she's colorful as red, you know, blue, and then he's kind of monochromatic, the way he's lit. You know, he's again a more like villain kind of guy. He's in black and white sort of. So just endless, just masterful touches throughout. But yeah, watching it alone is kind of, I remember just being, yes, you know. You gotta be cool, man, you gotta, under pressure. I don't think he would have wandered into that territory if he didn't have the right, you know, mental makeup to handle it. But yeah, it was the discovery of Rossellini, who had been this, you know, she'd been the face, but, you know, more of a model. She'd been in a few movies, but this was her big, Isabella Rossellini's first like great performance, I think. And then, Hopper was the sub-story here. He was in the middle of a kind of a wonderful second act, I guess I would call it then. Yeah, full comeback. The famous quote, I am Franklin.
I am Franklin.
That's a way to get a part, you know. Especially, I'm sure Hopper was so intense, but he's kind of a sweet, good old boy, though, too. I mean, he's such a great actor, but, you know, I don't know. He certainly is Frank. I mean, you can't imagine anyone else. And they got him a lot of, you know, we need a bad guy for Speed. Let's get Hopper. Kyle and Laura, they're in a teen, it's like a teen movie.
It is.
You know, just a sweet little teen romance, you know. When, Jack Nance, who's Eraserhead, he's part of the little gang with Brad Dourif. What a his little posse, Frank. What a collection, Brad Dourif and Jack Nance. You know? But he's there at the end. He's in the backyard with the detective, with the dad. That's the guy from the posse. He's from Frank's posse. He says, "Everything okay?" He's Eraserhead. Yeah, he's in the backyard with the dad. It's like, what's going on there?
There was a fish in the percolator.